Time for some way too early predictions for next season. By the way, currently on the DraftKings Sportsbook, guys, we have Super Bowl 57 and conference winner odds available. But, gentlemen, grab those crystal balls for me. Free agency opens exactly 1 month from today, March 16th. The draft is more than 2 months away. However, I'm here to tell you, we don't care. We love football, and I need you to give us your way too early prediction for NFL MVP next season, Pearce.
Jonathan Taylor. It might be way too early on the calendar, but it's not really that too. I mean, he had a really good shot at winning the MVP last season. If his team just would have won some football games, maybe made it into the playoffs, it would have been a different story. 1,800 yards rushing. I didn't think we'd ever see anything like that again in the modern era of football. But he did it in his second season. It's just going to be his third season next year. Now everybody knows his name, and we know that the MVP is a lot of a popularity contest. Sure, the stats matter. Your team's performance matters. But you have to be, a household name. He's established himself as a household name. He's been active in the receiving game. He's getting, 18 touchdowns. All the numbers are there. What he needs is his team to win games and to make the playoffs, and then you're pretty much locked in for an MVP award. Now, that's a big if. He needs Carson Wentz to be consistent. I could see the defense improving, but if Wentz continues to blow games, then, yeah, it's going to make life hard on Jonathan Taylor. But right now, he seems to be the clear favorite to me.
I don't know, Geoff. He's going to have to face that Jaguars defense twice a season.
Boy, yeah, that's a tough ask. Oh, boy. Look, I mean, I'm a little surprised Pearce is going with the running back here, but Jonathan Taylor coming off a historic season. Okay, I mean, we've seen running backs get hot and then just kind of, not drift back into the atmosphere, but come down to earth a little bit. We'll see with Taylor. I'm not betting running backs to bet MVP to win MVP any time of year. There's just way too much volatility with that position. I'm going to go in a similar price range though. I'm going to go to Russell Wilson, who, like I said, is in a very similar price range, in a lot of betting markets as Jonathan Taylor, sitting around plus 3,000. Look, again, you've got to target the quarterback position at MVP. There's a reason why they always win this. This has essentially become the best QB award. And who's the most undervalued QB in the market right now? It's Russell Wilson. What did we see 2 years ago at the start of the season when Russ was allowed to cook, when they just put him in the kitchen, unencumbered, and the Seattle Seahawks defense was giving up a ton of points? He was on a record-setting pace. Before I retire, Emerson, I will see Russell Wilson win an MVP award, and I very much think he could be a player on the move in the offseason. Could you imagine if we got Russell Wilson landing in a spot like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Ooh.
First of all, his MVP awards would probably get cut in half because it's a pass-happy offense. So if you're looking at someone to target right now, you got to go to the undervalued market, and I think Russell Wilson heads that list.
I don't know about Tampa Bay Bucks because Tom Brady's coming back in 4 months, Geoff. Sorry to burst your bubble there.
Sure.
Let's talk Aaron Rodgers, who has found nothing but success, at least in the regular season, since Matt LaFleur kicked off the next stage of the quarterback's Hall of Fame career there in Green Bay, which, by the way, could be a location he is not suiting up next season. Where will the 4-time league MVP be playing next year, Geoff?
Okay. I still think that, let's break this down realistically.
All right.
The betting market says right now it's the Denver Broncos, because the Denver Broncos on the DraftKings Sportsbook are plus 2,000 to win the Super Bowl. The Denver Broncos would not be plus 2,000 to win the Super Bowl if they weren't heavily favored to land Aaron Rodgers right now. So that's what the betting market tells us. My inclination, my hunch, is that he just goes back to Green Bay. Where is there a better path for Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl? I mean, I'm sorry, but the NFC next year is looking bleak. The Rams are going to take a step back. We talked about that all day yesterday. You've got the Saints without a quarterback. Who do the Packers have to go through again? Okay, they've got to get past San Francisco, but they basically did that this year, sans a block punt. I think that when Aaron Rodgers sits back and looks and lets his, meticulous brain analyze the NFL landscape, he'll realize Matt LaFleur, the Packers, it's his best option. There's no surprises there. Devontae Adams is there. An improving defense is there. I think that he might. The boring option, unfortunately, here is he probably just goes back to Green Bay.
Yeah, but where was Tampa Bay when Tom Brady was a free agent? You know what I mean? You could look. You can look at the betting favorites.
They were fourth. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Third or fourth.
So, Pearce, what do you think? Where is Aaron Rodgers next year? Because remember, it was over the weekend. Packers, the report came out, Packers were like willing to make Aaron Rodgers highest paid player in the NFL and also go all in on building around him.
He's not going anywhere. He's going to stay. The Packers are going to learn from the Patriots. What did the Patriots do the first time they had to make the decision? They shipped off Jimmy Garoppolo and stuck with Brady. Unfortunately, the second time, they didn't learn that lesson, and they let Brady go, and he went on to win a championship. So if you're the Packers, you look and see what the Patriots did and just keep him. And what you can do, and now here's where we have some fun, trade Jordan Love.
Yeah.
The future quarterback in waiting. Why don't you trade him to help build around Aaron Rodgers? Why don't you trade him to Denver, who now has Green Bay's old offensive coordinator? There might be a combination there. And get Jerry Jeudy in return. You might have to throw in some picks. That might be asking too much. If that's too much, how about Jordan Love to Pittsburgh, who needs a quarterback, for Chase Claypool? How about you trade him to Carolina for Robbie Anderson? I think he still has some left. You might actually get some picks thrown in there as well. But the big one, the big trade that I would make with Jordan Love, send him to Atlanta. They've got to get rid of Calvin Ridley. He's not coming back. They've got to trade him somewhere. You put Calvin Ridley on Green Bay, they're going 17-0.
Yeah, let's also keep in mind, too, who's the GM out in Denver? It's Patton, right? He came from the Vikings, so he also knows all too well what Aaron Rodgers can do. There's usually, though, guys, a team or two that goes from bottom of the barrel to, like, knocking on the door to the postseason, hell, or even the Super Bowl. I mean, take the Bengals, for example, 4-11-1 last year to a Super Bowl berth. Pearce, give me a team best suited to climb the standings next season.
Well, you know who I'm going to pick. They're already there. I mean, technically not in standings, but Detroit was practically a 500 team last season.
Oh,
come on.
God. Not this again. No!
Look at their numbers against the spread. They were a strong team. They lost a lot of close games. A lot. I mean, anyone out there can go through the results from Detroit, or you may just remember, they lost tons of heartbreakers, nail-biting losses. They were always covering the spread. The team always fought hard for Coach Dan Campbell. They've got a lot of heart. You can always add talent. They can pick up some players in the draft. They can pick up some players in free agency. But the core of that team believes in this team. And that's half the battle, especially when you're the Detroit Lions. It will not take much more for them to catch a couple breaks and just improve, which we saw them do a little bit towards the end of the last season, get over 500. And we've already seen that just getting over 500 can get you into the playoffs. The Steelers made the playoffs last season. The Eagles made the playoffs last season. Even the season before that, the Washington Commanders made the playoffs. Detroit's really not that far away. I know you don't want to believe in them, but they were a decent team last season.
All right, Ulrich, dude, got to be the Jaguars, right? They were so bad in 2021, like even finishing around 500. That would constitute a major step forward.
Oh, boy. It's not going to be the Jaguars for me. This is a tough question right now just because of how much quarterback uncertainty there are with so many teams. Like, I kind of want to go off the wall and pick like the Steelers, but I have no idea what they're doing at that position. I mean, like, who knows? I mean, who knows who's starting there? So let's go with a little bit more of certainty just with the in terms of who's going to be playing quarterback. And let's stay in the same division and go against Pearce with the NFC North. Let's pick the Chicago Bears. I actually really like this hire. Matt Eberflus as the new head coach. Very, very solid defense in the Indianapolis Colts over the last few years. And everyone's all up in arms. Oh, my God. They hired a defensive coach. What are they doing to Justin Fields out there? Who cares? Your coach doesn't have to be an offensive guru. The Chargers basically proved that this year when they went out and hired a defensive-minded coach as well, and they still lifted Justin Herbert to new heights. You just need a coach with common sense. And guess what? Defense also wins games. I think the Chicago Bears are going to be in a good bounce-back spot. They've still got good defensive pieces. They've got a great young wide receiver combo with Fields and Darnell Mooney. I think you're going to see that team be a lot better and challenge for a playoff spot next year.
All right, so you think Justin Fields can be the guy there in Chicago?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I also saw some of the mock drafts have the Bears taking that wide receiver out of Ohio State, too, trying to go like the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase route, like, going with Fields' favorite wide receiver out of Ohio State. So something to keep an eye on with the draft a couple months away. Let's flip the scenario around, though. Give me a playoff team this year that will bottom out next season, Geoff.
Okay, well, I mean, look, the easy answer here is the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, look, this team, they got on a roll at the right time this year. But they also, when you look at their overall schedule, I mean, Stafford, banged up quarterback. They had bad losses. They got smoked by Arizona at one point. They got smoked by the Tennessee Titans. I mean, I just don't see this team as someone who's, going to improve on what they had this year. And now that, Odell Beckham clearly not going to be healthy to start the year. And was he even coming back anyways? The Los Angeles Rams are ripe for just a massive, massive regression next year. They're not going to be able to add anyone because they've already spent all their draft picks, all their cash, all that good stuff. We don't even know the retirement statuses of Aaron Donald and Sean McVay. If they do come back, I mean, these guys are literally talking about retiring. What kind of state of mind does someone who's like on the edge of retiring going to come back for a year? It could just be a complete disaster, quite frankly. And as I mentioned, they're in a really tough division still. The Cardinals, I'm sure, will get things together. They're going to be competitive. And the 49ers, as we know, they're right up there with Green Bay in terms of, assuming Aaron Rodgers is back, with the top two teams in the NFC. So I see nothing but a bleak forecast for the Rams next year. They got their Super Bowl. They pushed their chips in. But it's time to pay the piper, and that's going to start next year.
Yeah, several starters and key contributors pending free agents. No first-round draft picks. Immediate help probably not coming. Pearce, where are you going?
It's also going to be the Rams for me. These teams, they're not spring chickens. They're getting old. Stafford is getting up there in years. Cooper Kupp, when you have that much volume in one season, there's going to be, obviously there's going to be regression, but you would expect that as much action as he received last season, he's going to be worn down a little bit. Maybe he'll be fine, but really it's just Stafford and Kupp. What else do they have on that offense? And as Geoff mentioned, the division's pretty good. When the Cardinals are healthy, they're the best team in that division. San Francisco is going to continue to go and just get better. And then he doesn't even mention his MVP pick, Russell Wilson. If Russell Wilson is allowed to cook and stays in Seattle, they're going to be a serious threat in that division. So you've got a Rams team that was inconsistent facing three solid teams. I don't see it happening. To throw another pick out there, I know people are thinking this is just year 1 or 2 of the Bengals' rise. You might want to pump the brakes on that one a little bit. When the Ravens get their running backs back, when they get their defense healthy again, they're going to be a formidable opponent. And Pittsburgh's not going to stink year in, year out. The Steelers have been good for the last 30 years. They're going to be a tough opponent as well. And the Browns are just a quarterback away from also being strong in the AFC North. I think we are way too quick to anoint Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. It's not like they had the greatest winning percentage in the regular season to begin with. And I think they're going to have a harder route next year, especially when they get a tougher schedule.
Here's the thing about the Bengals, though. Like we mentioned the division. And, again, Pittsburgh, no quarterback.
Yep.
I hear people calling for this Ravens bounce back and their great value for the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. Like, are they going to get a bunch of people in the secondary? Maybe if they sign some people, sure. And then you've got the Browns, who, they're the Browns. So I think the Bengals, I can see what Pearce is saying. Maybe if they don't address their offensive line, but they have a much easier path to the division than the Rams do.
Yeah, right, because that young core is in place, Geoff, not to mention about $60 million in cap space to shore up like all those weak spots on the roster. Pearce, after your OBJ take yesterday, you're up first for this one, bud. Give me your hottest and earliest take for the 2022 NFL season.
My hottest take for this season, I don't know if it's that hot. Actually, it is. It might be crazy. Mitchell Trubisky is going to lead the Washington Commanders to the playoffs.
Yes.
I know that he hasn't signed with Washington yet, and he might not even seem like much of an upgrade over Taylor Heineke, but he is an upgrade. And we've seen him have good games in Chicago. And as we saw last season, maybe it wasn't Mitchell Trubisky that was the problem in Chicago. Maybe when they won games, it was not. It was more of in spite of the team around him. And we saw him get a year off here in Buffalo. I bet if he goes to Washington, they've got the players in place. They've got the running back tandem that can work. They've got a receiver. Maybe Curtis Samuel can come back and play well. Logan Thomas could be a top-tier tight end. And the defense is fine. Down the stretch, Washington had a very solid defense. Now, on paper, the DVOA doesn't look that great, but they were limiting points when they were healthy and not dealing with COVID outbreaks. Washington's not far away from being a playoff team. That division is not very good. All Mitchell Trubisky has to do is game manage, and they can easily find the playoffs.
You could be onto something, because I remember back around the trade deadline, like CBS Sports was reporting that the Bills were talking with the Washington football team about a trade for Trubisky there. Geoff, what's your hot take here for 2022, bud?
Yeah, I'll be dead honest. Washington just about made my team to, sort of rise from the dead. It's just, again, we don't know the quarterback situation. I personally would love to see Mitch there, as the big comeback story. But my hot take is going to be that the Philadelphia Eagles win the division and they go to the NFC Conference Championship. I think that the NFC is extremely wide open. I think that, what you saw with Nick Sirianni taking a team that was a little bit undervalued and just like really didn't have that big a player pool and getting them to believe in themselves to the point where they made the playoffs. Yes, they got absolutely destroyed in the playoffs, but I just think people just keep discounting the work ethic and just the overall football sense of Jalen Hurts. He's going to get better. This team is going to get better. There's rumors that they're trying to add Calvin Ridley now in free agency as well. The defense was solid at times. They can improve on that. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are the better run franchise than the Dallas Cowboys. And I think that will show next year. I think they're going to win the division, and I think they'll have a shot to go deep in the playoffs. I'm not going to go too far. I won't say that make the Super Bowl or anything. There's still potentially Aaron Rodgers and the 49ers there. But I think this NFC is absolutely wide open for a team like the Eagles to make a run. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to make a lot of people look stupid again next year. I
mean, the team's approach to the draft and free agency will definitely signal how committed they are to Jalen Hurts. Let's not forget, too, Geoff, they have 3 first-round picks this year. Yeah.
They can add a lot of defensive pieces. They could add another wide receiver. I think the Eagles showed last year that they made a pretty good hire. And if they can just add some depth pieces at the important positions, I definitely think they'll challenge Dallas for the division lead anyways.